Hello everybody and welcome back to another quick Dwarf Fortress tutorial. In this video I'm going to be covering advanced world generation. The goal of this video is to help you understand a little bit more about generating large rivers. Now, you might think that this is about rainfall, but it's more about erosion in fact. Rainfall is important, but not the be-all end-all. The issue is with most of the techniques I'm going to be showing you here, you're going to end up with some really shallow worlds that don't have a lot of depth to them. However, if you do get the desired effect you're looking for, I don't think that matters too much. Let's dive in. Now we're in the world gen creation screen and we're going to go to detailed mode. And the first setting that we're going to look for, more specifically the first setting we're going to talk about here is elevation. Now the reason I'm talking about elevation is because if the elevation is below the number 104 during world gen, if you either tweak with this or mess around a little bit in other settings and cause the world to be very, very shallow, this will actually prevent rivers from forming to begin with, which will kind of mess up the whole plan here. So if you're going to be trying to generate a world with rivers, just make sure that you're either leaving these settings at default or you're keeping that above 104, otherwise you're going to start getting large numbers of rejections. The next setting that you might think that you need to tweak and mess around with in order to get large rivers forming is rainfall. Now, in my experience, you don't need to so much. This is more about generating swamps and swampland and things like marshes, and tropical forests. However, because we're just trying to get rivers, rainfall isn't necessarily a thing that we need to mess around with too much here. In fact, I find it just kind of breaks the game if you have too much rain, partially because the dwarves don't like it, but also I find that the game just rejects a whole lot when I mess with this setting. So we're just going to be leaving rainfall alone for the time being. Now this right here is the setting that I would like to mess with. This is erosion cycle count. So what the erosion cycle count is when the world places all of its mountains, it places everything, it then places its riverbeds, and then what it does is the game basically dumps simulated water on the map and erodes. The erosion cycles is the number of times the game dumps a round of water in and erodes away the banks. Increasing this number will kind of do two things. One, it'll make the whole world thinner because there is more water running over everything and removing dirt from the sides, basically eroding away space. The second thing that it is going to do is it is going to give us much wider rivers and canyons, as well as much deeper rivers and canyons. So what we're going to be playing around with is this erosion cycle count number. Something else I would like to touch on briefly here is periodically erodes extreme cliffs, and this is just a yes or no option. What this does, as I understand it, is it makes extreme cliffs, which are jagged and straight up and down and impassable, it changes this so that when it periodically erodes them, it essentially adds in ramps, making them traversable. We are going to be playing around with this setting, but not in the first world generation that we're going to do here. So for our first experiment, we are going to increase the erosion cycle count. Now the maximum here is 1,000, and we're defaulting to 250. I'm going to set this to 750. We're going to increase that number by quite a bit. Also up here in our default world shape, I'm going to set this to a medium region, just so that we generate relatively quickly. Now that I've tweaked this one number, that is it, we are going to click Create World and see what it gives us. Now after just 19 rejections, the world begins to generate. And if we take a peek around, we can already see a lot of rivers forming. Just over 100 years in, the absolute planets definitely seems to be giving us a desired effect. We also have this joyous wilds ocean, which isn't something you see particularly frequently, connected to this interesting haunted biome. That's something else I would like to do in a later video, is generating magic worlds per se. Basically worlds that are entirely evil or good aligned worlds. I think that might be an interesting kind of theme for one of these, but let's take a look at these kinds of rivers that we've generated. So if I hover the mouse around, we are seeing a lot of different rivers. However, it's a lot of streams, which isn't exactly what we want. We want minor and major rivers. See, that's the kind of thing we're looking for here. Let's try turning the numbers up a little bit and see if it continues to generate efficiently. So here we are back at the erosion cycle count. I'm now going to turn this up to 950. Something that I think is interesting and I would like to note here as well is I've been encountering a lot of heavy CPU usage, specifically with the erosion cycle count setting. A lot of settings that I can change for world gen in the advanced world gen screen don't really impact my CPU all that heavily. But this one causes the game to chunk like nobody's business. It's kind of interesting. Let's generate it and see what we get. All right, after 28 rejections, the world is generating, and this one's given us some pretty massive lakes. This right here is a humongous lake that almost looks like an ocean, it's so big. All right, so after just over 100 years of generating, we're kind of panning around, and we are seeing a decent number of rivers once again, but a lot of these are still streams. Well, I think maybe what we might have to do is actually turn up the number of rivers that we're going to get from the get-go because, well, it is giving us the desired effect of having a lot of erosion. It's not giving us the desired effect of bigger rivers. So here we are, sitting at erosion cycle count. Let's increase this number this time to 900. Now, if we put this all the way up to the maximum, which we can, it's going to cause the game to reject a whole lot. Because what this is going to do it is going to flatten out a lot of the mountains. Now, the issue for this is this could also cause a problem with not having enough rivers if I turn the river requirement up as well here. So I'm going to turn up the minimum start number, but I'm not going to turn up the post-erosion number. Hopefully this gives us a good number of rivers, but also allows the game to generate. Let's see how it goes. Now, I'm realizing as soon as I've hit the go button on this, it didn't reject that many times, only 8 times, but I did forget to set it to the right size. Having run the world gen for 100 years, we're just taking a peek around, and I'm going, wow, okay, we are in fact getting quite a few rivers here, although this is a much larger map than I've been generating thus far. Let's reset the map down to a smaller size and try this again. Once again, setting the medium region, increasing the amount of river locations, increasing the erosion cycle count to 900 this time. We are not going to periodically erode extreme cliffs, hopefully giving us some more simulated canyons. And then we're going to go to our drainage. We are going to have a minimum drainage of 0. We're just going to leave that at default. And the maximum drainage is going to be 75. And we're going to give it the best chance we got. Let's see how it goes. Looks like we are getting our desired result now. Just at a glance, I can already see a lot more of the rivers that I was really hoping to see appearing. Of course, if we'd increase the drainage all the way up to the maximum or to a much higher number, that would theoretically net us with deeper canyons, but I want flowing rivers. 91 rejections though, that is kind of hefty. 94 years have passed, we had 91 rejections, and just at a glance, this seems to be giving me the result that I was looking for. Lots of major rivers connecting with brooks, as well as being close to cliffs. Let's see if we can find a cool spot in here. All right, so we're now in the embark screen, and I'm having a peek around. This might be a nice spot right here. We do have this major river kind of intersecting with this less major river. Something else I need to cover at some point is generating worlds with less materials, because I really do not like the frequency set at the default settings right now. It's just way too much gold and stuff. This one is really promising. So I think this and here are 2 places I would like to embark. I want to try this one right here because it does kind of show this steepness, which I think is interesting. This one also might be cool, so we'll embark there in a moment. Let's drop in here first and just see what it looks like. Now that is exactly what I was hoping for. Look at that absurdity. It is one hell of a waterfall and would make for a fantastic mountain home and is probably a horrific death trap. Let's see how this otter survives. Well, it's certainly had better days. I think that this might be one of the greatest natural defenses a fortress could have. In fact, I would say the smaller creek that is intersecting with it is actually maybe my least favorite part of it. I think this might be one of the greatest danger things I've ever seen. You'd need to very quickly put a wall up here or your dwarves are just going to get themselves yeeted off the cliff. Something else I would like to check out before we check out another embark, though, is how deep is this world? So it goes down to layer -26. The embark layer is 24. and it goes up to layer 39. So it is pretty shallow still, but that's kind of to be expected in this kind of crazy, massive river region. So this is a similar area to where I wanted to check out. We also kind of have this little spot here. This is a intersection of 4 different major rivers. Let's have a look at what this one looks like, and then we'll check out this bend right here. So once again, we do have this intersection of rivers, although it lied, one of them isn't as big, but it is a waterfall, so that's pretty cool. It goes all the way down to here, and we have this large suspended cavern, or cavernous thing, not cavern, what's the word, like, canyon. And we also have a second waterfall kind of coming in on the side here. You know, when it said that they were all 4 major rivers, I was kind of hoping we would have something a little bit wider coming into them. However, I'm totally fine with these 2 separate waterfalls. This gives a really nice effect and would be a really fun place to build around. Was that a flying fish? I'm not even sure what that was, but it was a flying something. There's another one. Oh, it's, of course, yes, the strange flying lungfish. I will never understand them. Now, this is the final one I kind of want to look at, and the reason for it is when I hit this button, you can kind of see its lower elevation and then slightly higher elevation around it. And then when I look at the cliffs, we can actually see that we do have some pretty interesting formations kind of going on here. So I'm kind of curious as to what this area is going to end up looking like. Now, it might disappoint me, but what I think I'm going to do for the sake of this Embark, and I don't actually recommend you doing this when you're just playing, but we're going to make the Embark size a little bit bigger. This would cause some pretty massive lag even on my PC, but I just want to see what this is going to look like here. All right, so it didn't kind of give me the canyon effect that I was hoping for, but we do still have a pretty rad river. I think I'm going to call this experiment tutorial a success. If you would like to download this particular world to mess around with it, holy crap, giant hippos. If you would like to mess around with this particular world, you can find that in the description of this video. I won't attach all of them because there was a lot of worlds generated in this one. However, I would like you to have the opportunity to mess around with this world if you see fit. Finally, we can scroll all the way down to layer -26 and all the way up to layer 43. I think it might be wise, in fact, to change the cavern settings a little bit if you're going to be doing this, just so that you get deeper caverns underground. Because when I reveal the map, well, I'll show you. The first cavern layer is at layer 12. Second cavern layer immediately at layer 5, although this one's pretty open and quite nice looking, I gotta say. There is also a volcano here, underground, which is kind of neat. And then, of course, the final cavern layer, which is a lake, mostly. I do think this is a neat layout overall for a fortress, and I do think it would make for a entertaining playthrough. However, I'm not super fond of super shallow areas myself. I like having lots of space to dig around in. Maybe it is your cup of tea, though, and this is a optimal series of settings for you. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found something useful out of it, and if you did, please slap a like on it, and if you would like to help me out or support these videos directly, you can check out my streams over at twitch.tv/blindIRL. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.